Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. We've had her on many times before, and she represents transformation, empowerment. She's a life coach and does a lot of energy healing as well. I'm going to focus on the word empowerment because today we're going to center on female empowerment. Lots to talk about, and it's great to have her back here. Tamara Grob is on the program. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Steve. I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Fantastic. And great to have the company of two wonderful women as we go down the road of some feminism. Please explain who your guest, Crystal, is today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. So this is my dear friend and soul sister, Crystal Leaman. She's also known as Chris Niels. She's the author of a book called Eve's Rebellion, which is really all about feminine empowerment. She's also a co-author of another book called Goddess. She's an artist. She's a life coach who happens to be certified in hypnosis, in timeline therapy, and in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, as well as a certified somatic educator, a board-certified non-denominational chaplain, and a board-certified sexologist. And her passion is really to help people become more embodied and to live their life in their best and most pleasurable way from a more authentic and genuine place from within. So Crystal and I have known each other for 5 years now. We both started off in a program called Authentic Living, where we both became certified life coaches. I had actually graduated the year before, and Crystal had been one of my mentees, and we had an immediate connection. And after that, we were actually in what's called a sister circle together for about a year. We went through a lot of challenges together, but there was always this incredible support and cheering each other on as true, in the true way of sisterhood, which is something that we are going to talk a little bit about because it's lacking in our world. And basically, we've had different lives, but we've also had similar challenges. Like both of us had marriages that ended because they weren't serving us. They weren't allowing us to be our authentic selves for different reasons. But going through these similar challenges, we both felt a pull when I moved back here to New York after my divorce to co-create and launch this incredible program called Embrace, a woman's journey through the wheel of life. And Embrace is an acronym which stands for Embodiment, Mastery, and Radiant Consciousness Empowerment. And again, this is all about feminine empowerment because we feel that not just us, but there is a shift on our planet now where we feel that there has to be a rebalancing and a reharmonization of the divine and the masculine energies because we have been out of balance for far too long. And so right now we literally are entering an era of the rising of the divine feminine. And again, we're talking about the energies of the feminine. But of course, because as women, we carry more of those energies than as males, it's up to us to sort of lead the way. Men have a role to play, but right now we're really focusing on empowering and transforming the lives of women. So,
wow. Crystal, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Oh, I'm so good. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm gratified that you're both here because looking at it through the eyes of a man, I'm not seeing what's going on here. I just joined a men's group. First time in my life. I never even thought I would ever do that. 15 weeks ago, I became part of this group where I see that what you're describing is missing on the men's side, where we don't express ourselves. And, we need to just take a look at things in a different way. So I'm very intrigued to learn what you both have to offer and say here today in terms of this movement, what's changing. I mean, first of all, I think we all, especially men, need to realize you do have a feminine side. Embrace it. It's okay. Energy, let's call it that.
Exactly.
As well as a male energy or masculine energy. Crystal, let's go right to your book. And the reason I'm going there is just because of the title, Eve's Rebellion. Basically, what's your book about?
Yeah, honestly, my book is my life story, my journey. And I think it's so important to talk about, not just to air my life and my story. I think it does give people permission to go through hard things and know they're not alone, because I think we all face challenges in our lives. So there's that element of it.
Sure.
But it's recognizing that everything that we go through in life, there's always the shadow side of it, but there's the light side of it. Like, we get to know things about ourselves. We get to make choices that are empowering. We get to, I mean, I look at life as like chapters in a book, for instance. And so in my book, I actually share my story, but I also share ways that you can process and work through things. Like Tamara said, it's like we have similar stories as far as we left partners, but that was a process of us learning and growing what we needed to get to a point that we had outgrown or needed a shift, or we had become aware of things no longer working in the next phase of our lives. And so my book is really about my personal journey, but it's bigger than that, because we're talking about something that's collective, right? We're all living in this world, and there's ways of cultural being, there's ways of thinking, our relationships, it's always fed back to us. And so that even as we talk about the masculine and the feminine, and a man and a woman in a relationship, in our churches, in our schools, in our everything, it's always being looped back to us. And so I think the embrace my book, it's all interwoven in a way that breaks things down so that we can layer by layer start going through and seeing where maybe we're not so aware of how we're showing up, and ways of being and thinking that aren't even our own. And so that's kind of the catalyst, of starting to peel back those layers and bring in some tools and awarenesses.
What do you feel, three things that is missing for women today? Today's woman, what's missing in their lives?
I think, well, I'm going to come at this a little bit differently, but I think women carry shame. There's so much shame. There's so much disconnection from our actual body. Like, we have been indoctrinated around sexuality being bad. You look at like churches, which that impacts our relationship with ourselves. That also impacts our relationship with our partner. That impacts our relationship with even our modern day world and our culture, what's acceptable. So I think there's just this massive disconnection. And then we look at like our nervous system and how disconnected we are, because we've learned to be in this state of not really leaning in and listening to our own needs. And as women, like recognizing that we do have cycles, and we do have, not that men don't also, but our cycles are different. Like, as we really begin to look at ourselves and start there and take ownership and accountability of that, we can start to undo those layers, the shame, the connection to the mind, to the body, the divine masculine and feminine, and knowing what those are.
I want to go back to the two of you, what you said, that you were in relationships and it didn't serve you with those men, and you moved on. By the way, same situation with a woman.
Yeah.
Hearing that, some men may say, well, the guy wasn't good enough for him, so they're just like moving on. But I want to illustrate here that we all, it's my opinion, and I would love your feedback on this, that we evaluate or reevaluate our lives. They say every 5 years, what's going on? And many of us don't make changes because we don't want to upset the apple cart. Then in my understanding too, you wait 2 years before you make a change, because you process, you think about it. And that's where the 7-year itch comes in. When I look back at my life and relationships, every 7 years, there was a major change. So I don't know if there's something there, but I don't want people hearing what you're saying and thinking that, oh, well, yeah, they didn't need that man, so they tossed him to the curb and then they just moved on with their lives. I think maybe it could be viewed that way, but that's not it at all, right?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, I was in a 25-year marriage, and, there is this hope that maybe, oh, things will work out or things will change. But that's the thing.
Sure.
Change can only come from within. So the process when you're in a relationship, an intimate relationship, is that you are not going to change at the same pace as someone else, and you cannot make them change. So when you start going through your inner work, right, the 7-year itch, as you put it,
Sure.
that does not mean that your partner may be going through that. So it doesn't mean that we toss them to the curb. It simply means that we realize that we were no longer growing and evolving at the same pace. There was a disconnect that happened. And when that disconnect happens, it's also because you realize you are, as Crystal said, disconnected from yourself, from within, from your connection to your divine feminine energy, your connection to Mother Earth. Because remember, the feminine is the earth, the energy of the earth, what we call Gaia, is divine feminine energy. And so what happens to us as women is also affecting the planet. Because remember, divine feminine energy is the energy of creation. So there is this, it's not tossing anybody to the curb. It's a simple fact of growing into who you are, remembering who you are, but your partner isn't able to do that. And that's their journey, and that's okay. And that's where you have to be okay with releasing them. And you release them, and you do it with as much love and compassion as you can.
I would love to speak to that.
Sure.
I was very much a product of the culture and the religious thinking that I was brought up in. And so there was definitely a set standard and way of being that my community, my family, everybody had these expectations. And I think as I grew, not only did I realize that I personally didn't resonate with that as my truth, but in addition, I think I found my own self and my own voice and was able to step out and say, I'm actually not okay with abuse. And I actually don't think that living by the motto, the grass isn't greener on the other side, I don't necessarily feel it's my responsibility to fix or save somebody. I think it's my responsibility to fix and save myself. That's it. And so to be like, you know what, I'm not okay with being abused and lied to, and I can put my foot down and have a boundary, and I'm worth more than that. And this is what I believe. That is what I stepped out of my marriage.
Sure. And I appreciate you saying that. And so many of us don't feel the love for ourselves to make those changes.
Yeah,
exactly.
If you're a woman right now listening, watching, how can you connect with yourself again? Or maybe for the first time? What are some of the things that you can actually do?
I have spent so much time really working around that specific thing. And for me, it's somatics. It's learning how to feel safe in my body. It's really connecting the mind and the body. It's focusing on pleasure. And that can be in the sexual realm, and that can also be in the non-sexual realm. But what I have found as a non-denominational chaplain in my own studies, in my own life, is so much go back to the word shame. Shame around our bodies, shame around our sexuality, shame around our expression, what we can do, can't do. And so it's really giving ourselves permission to allow ourselves to find pleasure, allow ourselves to experience pleasure, allow ourselves to do things that might not fit someone else's narrative or expectation.
Yeah. I've often said this before. If you could go back when you were younger, what would you say to yourself? And I tell my 16-year-old daughter this almost on a daily basis now. Don't consider what people think or say. It's okay. Be you. Don't worry about what they're thinking, because she worries about what she wears and how she's going to be perceived. And I would say the same thing to myself if I was staring myself in the face at a younger age. What would you say? What would you say to yourself, Crystal?
You know, I really like that. I think what you said was profound. I think I would say, know who you are. And if you love you, all of the relationships that you build, they're going to love you for who you truly are. It's not going to be built on false, content, precepts,
Sure.
whatever. But at the same time, I'm not always going to be outward focused trying to get that love and validation, because it starts here, and then everything that rippled out is genuine.
Appreciate you saying that, because it's a cliche. You got to love yourself before you can really love others. Until you figure that out, you don't believe it. And
It's
then
true.
when you start feeling the love for yourself, things start changing, and you look at things differently and you look at relationships differently, but you don't know until you know. Tamara, what would you say to yourself if you were younger and facing yourself?
Oh, I would say, darling, love yourself no matter what. And exactly what you just said, you do not need external validation from anyone or anything. Just trust yourself, believe in who you are, remember who you are, because that's the thing. We have it all within us,
Yep.
and that's the type of work that Crystal and I both do. And that's also why we focus a lot on the somatics, because the thing is, we live so much up here, and that up here is the masculine energy, right? The rational, the logical, the thinking. We do need that. But what we have forgotten is our connection to our bodies, to ourselves. That is the divine feminine energy. And we have to be able to return to that and harmonize and balance the two. When that's harmonized and balanced, then we are good. Then that is when we can truly love ourselves, because we have that heart-mind connection. But until that's done, that's why this is why so many relationships don't work, because we are seeking to complete ourselves, to fill ourselves up with someone else. And that's just not, yet we've been programmed and conditioned and taught to believe that this is how we're supposed to be. But it's the opposite. You must fill yourself up first. You must know yourself first. You have to do your own inner work. As Crystal said, for me, there's nothing to fix. We are not broken, but we can improve ourselves. And the only one that can do it is yourself. You can't do it for someone else. No one can do it for you. No one can make you happy. You have to find that happiness within. And then when you have it, well, then it overflows. And that's how it impacts other relationships. And so this work that Crystal and I are doing in this Embrace program is exactly that. We're trying to bring women back to themselves, to listen to the wisdom of their bodies, to not have this external validation of this is how you should be, this is how you should dress, behave, speak, talk, to suppress everything that makes us women. And Crystal brought it up. Pleasure is a huge part of that. And we have been told that pleasure is evil, it's wrong, that our bodies, the cycles that we go through as women are dirty, messy, wrong, something taboo not to be talked about, when this is a huge part of what actually creates life on our planet. And so it is important. I mean, all of us have daughters that we are raising in this world. And for us, it is so important that we can impart this wisdom and knowledge to the next generation, so that what we have carried in us, the shame that we've carried in us, the internalized misogyny, the beliefs of, purity culture, that a lot of that comes from religious harm, that we've been told that we are subservient, we are not worthy, we are not good enough. That is so ingrained in us that it's an entire process. It's taken us years to get to this point of awareness and of understanding that that's not who we are. That is who we are. And we have to get to that point where we can work with our bodies and start to love our bodies as they are. Stop with the external of how a woman should look, how a woman should be, how a woman should speak or behave. All of that needs to be changed.
Can I just add that, like, we do have human needs, right? And being loved is one of those needs, and being touched is one of those needs. And so if we don't really do our work around it and start giving that to ourselves and building relationships that are healthy, and otherwise we're going to be stuck in this cycle of, being a 40, 50, 6-year-old human being trying to get our mom and dad's validation. Like, that could be the cycle we're stuck in our whole lives, or in a relationship and not getting out, because that's where we're getting our needs met. And so as we start just taking that ownership and accountability, and really knowing that, of course, we need that. We do need that. That's every human's, like, beyond just need, it's a desire that we have, and it's natural and it's normal. So that's why it's like, how can we begin to look at how we've been operating with this, like, sense of compassion for ourselves, but then begin to be the change.
When you say meeting needs, I believe there's a difference between that and feeling that true joy that this is the way it's supposed to be in my life. with this person, as opposed to, well, I'm in a relationship and it's okay and it's all that. And then we just continue doing that. I want to share something with you, and I believe things happen for a reason, but a dear friend of mine, Maria, passed away this week suddenly. I did years of radio with her, uber successful. It's online, it's everywhere. Um, we understood each other as men and women, and that's what made our radio show work. And we created something called Hers Day every Thursday for that reason. And I went back on the radio station that she and I worked on and did a tribute to her today. And they're actually bringing back Hers Day. We trademarked it. I said, here you go, take it. Just because it's so important, just to give a voice to women. Yeah, and we'd have fun with it. There'd be lighthearted, but sometimes more serious stuff going on there. But there needs to be more things like Hers Day, something where women can voice and let others feel what they're feeling. Because I agree with you. I think the suppression is horrific now. And I've made my career appealing to 25 to 50-year-old women, 54-year-old women. That's a demographic. Because I feel like I understand a little bit more than the average man, but I don't know. I'm not a woman. So I appreciate both of you bringing a lot of this to light today. How can we find out more? How can we connect? Women are listening. They want to make a connection. This resonates. What do they do?
So there's our program called Embrace, as I talked about, and it's a deep dive. It's a 12-month program, and it follows literally the 12 months through the cycles of women, and we cover everything. So if they're interested in this, they can go onto my website, SoulQuest Life Coaching and Energy Healing.com, or they can send an email to either myself, which is soulquestlifecoaching@gmail.com, or to Crystal's email. Crystal, do you want to give your email?
Yes, it's Chris, Kris, at evesrebellion.com. Or you can actually get on the website, evesrebellion.com, and you can leave a comment on the page as well.
And we're both on Facebook. So you can also direct message us on Facebook, because the course itself has a dedicated course portal where there are pre-recorded videos. There is so much information. There are workbooks to work through, and there's a dedicated Facebook support page where women come on. We can go do lives. We can answer your questions. It's for support. We really are creating a safe space for women to come in. We're really trying to heal the sisterhood wound, because that's a big one. That's a big one for women on this planet. So we really hope that, this is something that is going to call to a lot of women, because it is really important and really powerful, this type of work that we're doing right now. So we hope that, we can really have people join this program.
Appreciate everything today. I have one final question. You said before the logic and the emotion and being out of balance, not broken. Do you feel that men are dealing with that as well, where they're out of alignment too?
Yeah.
It's the world that we live in. It's a way of being that's occurred, right? And so that's why the hope is that, because more women are doing the work, typically if you go to any type of healing modality or, any type of personal growth, there's typically more women than men. So the hope is that, as the women continue to do it, their spouses, I know my current spouse has also been going alongside me, and more men are waking up and doing their work too. And so it is beautiful.
I've done the work in my journey over the last 3 years, and OMG. All I can say.
I just want to give you kudos, for opening up that conversation on Thursdays, the Hers Days, and just give you my condolences for your loss, but just want to echo back, like, the work that you're doing is profound.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you gave me chills. I'm not even kidding. And that Hers Day,
Steve, that it has been an absolute pleasure to do this podcast series with you.
Thank you.
And you are one of those males on the planet that are aligning to that divine masculine, divine feminine energy. I've totally picked that up working with you. And I echo what Crystal just said. You're doing profound work.
Oh, and you both are. And that I'm proud in Hers Day that it got the attention around the country. It won 2 Gracie Awards. And now it's back, unfortunately because of her passing, but there's a place for it and it needs to be there. And then the men's group that I joined 15 weeks ago, they made me the shaman, because the stuff we're talking about right now, I share it with men because they need to know.
That is so wonderful. More men need to join these types of groups, really, because this is the type of support that brings out the divine masculine. It's not circles. We need brother circles too.
It was never me. I joined. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Did I join a cult? What's happening here? Not even kidding. I went on a retreat. I'm like, what is going on? And I left that retreat realizing this is what needs to get done. And same thing for women as well. Thank you both so much for being here. So much enlightenment and empowerment, and keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. We're coming right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.